Here's some great advice from 4 successful Etsy sellers. Let's get into number 1.
As far as like my day, like I'm always very conscious of how I spend my time, because I used to work a 9 to 5 and a second job and then do the other stuff that was going to free me from those two things. So you just had to be very aware of like where the time was going. I think that helps a lot because then you eliminate the inefficiencies. I always like tried to like reverse engineer the end goal. So one-off things that weren't leading to me making more passive income, I try to deprioritize those.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of little things that go into it. So you've got to get good at just learning new things and moving on and not getting bogged down by the little stuff. I'd say the biggest things I would probably attribute to my success is scaling my business. So, as soon as you find something like a design style that works or a niche that you're getting a lot of sales in, making a bunch more just like it because you already know that that works for you. So I'll implement that in a couple of areas. Like, let's say I find a design style that works really well for me, like a rainbow with text underneath. And that works really well in one niche. And so I'll duplicate that design into 50 to 100 other niches. And the design looks identical other than what it says. And then I can really quickly and easily just keep uploading new designs that I find to all those same niches that I've already had success with. And that just makes it so much simpler. I'm not looking for the next big thing all the time. I'm just constantly finding one new design, duplicating it and putting it all the niches that I've found success with. And then that's kind of what's helped me scale so fast.
Probably my biggest tip would just be to use the spare moments of time that you have during the day. So for example, if you're waiting in a lunch queue or something, then I'll just pull out my phone and do some Redbubble research or see what's trending on Etsy. And those little bits of time really add up, especially if you're have a 9 to 5 job or if you're doing something else. You need to be able to squeeze out those little bits of time in between.
I think that listing volume is definitely number one key ingredient. Diversification of your niches that you're in is the second key ingredient. So I never stuck to just one niche. I did multiple niches just so that, certain niches sell during different parts of the year. So if I diversified my niches, then I'd get sales all year round. However, even if I look back at it now and I'm kind of well, maybe if I did the holidays like Christmas, you could sell big for a few months and still kind of have the same revenue numbers in total in a year too. So that's always another strategy I think about now that I'm what if I did this a little bit differently? But the evergreen niches is where I've kind of sat in. But I feel either way, if you did holiday, the seasonal niches and the evergreen, I think that's a pretty good, ingredient to have. And then the third is just, following trends and maybe even starting your own trends as far as, a lot of the bestsellers that I've seen on Etsy and that I've personally had are different trends than what was on Etsy. And I think that's what got me to having multiple bestseller listings in the niches I was in.
Helps you to build a much more consistent income. No niche sells all year round. So if you make sure you're in every holiday, Christmas, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Mardi Gras, all of them all the way around, then you can have some evergreen niches too. I think that's what's really helped us be able to comfortably quit our job, because we have had such a consistent income because we're in all of those different niches. I feel it's harder to get to that point with just one. I think Etsy is the perfect place to do that, since 99% of the time when someone's shopping on Etsy, they're just going to the search results and typing in exactly what they're looking for, like a first grade teacher shirt. And then they look through all the first and second page results of first grade teacher shirts and they buy one. They never even click on your actual store. So I feel in a market like that, where it's kind of Google based, search engine based, you really want to be in as many places as you can, since not that many shoppers are only shopping with you. And so I think Etsy is the perfect place to get in tons of different niches and find out what works best for you. And then if you wanted to take whatever your best selling niche was and your best selling designs over to a Shopify store, then you'd have a much easier time doing that, because you already have the proven designs, the proven mockups, the proven SEO, and you just can spend time sending Facebook ads to your Shopify store, but you don't have to figure it all out at the same time.
The best way to maximize your time is to test and see what works, and then just keep uploading what works, and that's where you scale.
I get a lot of questions. Will say like, I've been on Etsy for a few weeks now. I haven't had a sale yet. Why haven't I had any sales? Well, I think it is just a matter of time. It takes a lot of time to start to gain momentum, and a lot of time to start experimenting before you really start to see any type of success. So I guess my thoughts from my experience and kind of what you've shared is you have to be patient, and you have to just always be willing to put in the work and to always be experimenting in order to see any type of success.
In the beginning, it's kind of the never-ending hustle. I'd say for the first 6 months to a year, as you get it figured out, make designs for every niche, it is kind of that constant hustle. But then when it came to, like, say, my wedding month in September, it was really, really cool though, because I probably only worked 20 minutes a day on the customer service that entire month, and that was it. And I think I sold 25 grand, but that was because I had prepared in advance. And so I think what's really cool about Etsy is you could probably work, 6 months out of the year and really prepare for those holidays. And then the other 6 months out of the year, you could just do the customer service and maintain it. Obviously not 6 months and 6 months, but like work for a month listing and then coast for a month. If you really prepare like 8 to 12 weeks in advance for what's coming and always be ahead of what's coming and then do the trends as they come up, I think it does afford you some passive time as well.
I always think in general, like if we're marketing things to people, everybody's busy with their day. They don't care what we have to sell them. But if you can like catch their eye, and obviously with like the search function in a website, it's a lot easier to put the right product in front of them. And it's like, well, now why did they click you instead of anybody else? Well, that thumbnail looks good. When you run a sale, it's like a value proposition. People who shop Etsy regularly are used to seeing it, so they probably don't care. But like, give yourself every leg up that you have. Like I can sell a t-shirt at $19.99 with no sale, or I can sell it at, what is it, like $22.27 and run 10% off. And it's the same price point, $19.99. Pricing psychology, I'm a believer in it. At scale, as it scales up and you get in front of more people, I guarantee you the one running a sale is going to have a slightly higher click-through rate.
I think that organic ranking is where I would suggest going first, just to test the market first with all of your listings. I feel like that's kind of the mistake I have seen a lot of newer Etsy stores make, is throwing a bunch of money into Etsy ads and not seeing any sales. And sometimes the reason why they're not getting sales is due to not having trust built in their store through reviews and having multiple sales. And then also just not knowing what may sell in certain markets or in certain niches and design styles for different product types. That's what I've kind of seen. So that's why I recommend starting with organic, seeing if you get sales without ads. And then the items that you do get sales on, those are the items I would put ads on if you're not seeing as much traffic as you would like.
For one, like the biggest differentiator that is accessible to anybody, but I know it's kind of unique to me, is like since basically 20 years almost, since I was 13, I'm 32 now. Like I've been a computer nerd. Like I've just been at the computer, so I like flow very well at a computer. I got like multiple monitors, fast computer, desktop, all those things matter, and like, it's kind of like efficiently optimized. Keyboard shortcuts. Like I maximize all of those things that nobody would probably want to talk about because you sound like a nerd, but like, I swear it matters. All the shortcuts matter, man. Control T for a new tab, Control W to close a tab. Things like that matter.
When you start something like Etsy, it might seem like this big bad thing and it takes up this much of your mental energy in the beginning. But over time, as you learn it, you get better, you streamline your processes, you get more efficient. It slowly and slowly takes up less of your brain power to do the exact same amount of work. And then when you get to that point, that's when I started my Amazon, and then I started building that. And then that took less and less space. And now that feels easier. And then I opened my Mockup store, and that took up a lot of space. And now I just do that a couple times a year. I do the photo shoots for that. And then now I started my YouTube channel. So right now that is taking up this much space, currently trying to get 2 videos out a week and do coaching and stuff. But I think Etsy is a really cool building block into your first baby steps of entrepreneurship, because the barrier to entry is just so low and so easy. Anyone can get started if you just follow Brenon's advice and my advice and just follow the steps that you get from print on demand coaches. You really can kind of make it happen if you just do the little steps that you need to do and keep moving forward and stay consistent, like you said. And so I think over time, you know, a lot of people are going to really end up moving that way and starting different types of businesses and having multiple income streams. But it just gets easier over time, you know, to manage it all.
I have gotten inspiration mainly through Etsy, but I will say sometimes I do, like if I'm scrolling on Facebook, I'll get like those print on demand store ads, you know, from maybe Shopify stores. And I'm like, wow, those are some really good designs, you know, good trending types of designs. So I've pulled some inspiration, like just doing my own market research on things that will show up, things that I personally would buy. So I'm like, oh, this is a great market research time, you know, while I'm on Facebook, just liking posts. So I do that. And then also I go on Etsy and I look at past bestsellers and kind of what they're doing and what I could do differently.
Don't be afraid to like invest in your business. There's a weird like stigma sometimes that we have about spending money to make money. Just get over that. You know, it's okay to do. Like I paid somebody $2,500 before I had sold anything online to teach me FBA. It's a pretty big investment at the time. Sure. And but like I knew for me that was like a psychological trick where now I'm going to see it through no matter what, because I'm in the whole 2,500 and I don't want the joke to be on me, you know. So cool. Whatever it takes, you know, psychological tricks, paying for tools, the whole journey too is fun, especially when you're like a little bit more established. Like my girlfriend's kind of going through her own passive income journey and she's grinding through it and not seeing like the reward, you know, that you kind of get later. Just try to have some fun, you know. It is what it is at the end of the day. It's a grind, but
one of the most common questions I get is, do you think print on demand is too competitive because there's so many sellers doing it? And overall, it is getting a lot more competitive. It is harder to make sales now than before, like if you started like 5 years ago, obviously, but individual niches are always popping up. So you can't be the first to print on demand, but you can be the first to an individual niche. So that is how I've been able to sort of build and scale multiple Redbubble stores, 2 Etsy stores now. And I've been able to start them from scratch like recently and build them because I'm always looking for niches that are trending currently. So yeah, look around for trends. And then once you sort of get some momentum on your store, you can then start thinking about evergreen niches.
A lot of us, we did kind of start in that 2019, 2020 era. But I will say that I've had so many students, so many previous clients who have messaged me and emailed me in the past few months who have said, hey, I started in 2022 and I really thought that window of opportunity was gone. And here I am making 6 figures, you know, in my Etsy and print on demand business. And it's all because I found so-and-so's YouTube or your YouTube. So I feel like going into 2023 and the future years, that is still going to be a common thing, even though, you know, some of us started at a prime time maybe for online shopping and people not buying in retail stores, but now we're seeing people are still online shopping. That hasn't went away. And also for print on demand as an industry, you know, I read a statistic, there's some article that was recently posted for projections in certain markets. And in 2021, it said that the market was at 4.9 billion and that by 2030, it's supposed to be at 30 billion plus.
You know, going back in time 3 years ago, I was at like a corporate office sales job that I hated, toxic people. I was driving an hour to and from work. And I think when you're working, you know, 45, 50 hours a week, every week, you kind of accidentally go on autopilot. You don't take care of yourself. You don't take care of your friends and family. You don't take care of your house as much as you want, because when you're not at work, you're just burnt out. And so, you know, ended up losing my job was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it gave me just some time and space to really figure out what I wanted to do and, you know, get started on this business. So now, you know, 2 years into it, you know, the first year I really hustled, you know, like I said, I was working full time again in August, and I probably did Etsy every possible second I could. I had like 3 monitors set up here for my work. And then I had Etsy right here where you guys are. And just whenever I was in between something, I was also doing Etsy, and then going back to work and doing Etsy, and before work and after work and on my lunch break, because I was just obsessed. I really worked a lot of hours for a long, long time. But now that, again, I put that work in, this year has been so crazy because, you know, my husband quit his job in January. And so now he's just home full time with me. And so, you know, I've really started doing this YouTube channel, and now I've probably only listed on Etsy 10 times this year so far in 2022. And I've still made about the exact same amount of money I made this time last year on Etsy, with not doing too much more work, just kind of basic customer service. But again, because I prepared, I made sure I had shirts in all the different holidays, all the different seasons, my evergreen niches that sell well. You know, I put the work in the beginning. So now we go play pickleball all the time. We bought a camper. We've already been camping like 4 times this year, and it's just the end of June. I get to be home with my 13-year-old all summer. So it's really changed so much for me in my life.
I always like to say, like, get started. You just have to take action at some point and be methodical. Like, if you not knowing what to do is your barrier from literally starting right now, then it's okay to like either go find free resources like what you and I publish on YouTube, or a paid course, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a paid course, whatever it is though. Like, be methodical. All right, I'm going to take action, but I don't know what to do. Okay, find a free resource or paid resource and just kind of follow along. Like, follow somebody that's been there before. There's no shame in that, learning from other people. That's also going to expedite the process of you getting where you want to be. Like, you can do it like I did. My income reports, like, if you go back in time, like the ones I publish now look good, but the old ones, like, you literally see me grind through, struggling to make like money, like on my, I call it like dropship print on demand, my non-Amazon merch print on demand money. That scaled up so slowly because I didn't know what I was doing. But then it's kind of like you get the epiphany moment, and all of a sudden I'm making, you know, $2,000 a month profit now, like on average, minimum, like, you know, and so it's okay to learn from people that have been there before. But yeah, just get started, take action.
Any entrepreneur of any kind is going to go through bouts of feeling burnt out, and that's super normal. I think if you sit around all day and check how many favorites you have and wonder why they're not buying, and then you look at how many sales you have compared to someone else and wonder why you're not getting as many, I think you can really compare yourself to death and over worry about the little things. So I'd say one of the biggest things I did for myself is turned off my favorites. I haven't looked at how many favorites I got on anything in almost 2 years now, probably. Wow. Because you just want to kind of save your mental energy for the things that are actually important. And that is listing new items on Etsy. And that's it. I would stop worrying about literally any other piece of it. Don't worry about returns. Don't worry about issues. Don't worry about customer service. You know, when you get those things and they come up, take care of it right away and move on and never think about it again. I feel like people get really burnt out when they have an angry customer and they let it ruin their whole day. And that can really bog you down. So if you try to really only focus on the big thing, which is getting new things for sale on Etsy when you can, and have that be your only thing you worry about, everything else you just take care of really quick and move on, that will help so much.
I heard on one podcast, someone said this quote that kind of stuck with me. The best time to start something was yesterday, but the second best time to start is today. That's like my number one tip. The second tip is to just keep going, even if you may not see sales. And that's something that, you know, I look back and I stopped my store in 2020. And as everyone has seen now, you know, I've earned multiple 6 figures in my business. So just think that if I stopped, I would have still, you know, been working my 9 to 5. I wouldn't have this financial freedom that I do now and multiple income streams. So that's just something to think about, is to keep trying. Even if you fail, try again if you can. And if you really have that why and you know why you're doing this, like I love that you kind of say on your channel a lot about the why and how important that is.
There will be times where you get discouraged, but know if you push through those times that you're discouraged, that there's success around the corner. You could be just one design away from really changing the course of your shop and changing the course of your life.